Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who died at age 87, was a hero to the left. She was a trailblazer, a woman judge, a feminist judge, but she wasn't the first woman on the U.S. Supreme Court. That was Sandra Day O'Connor, nominated by Republican Ronald Reagan. She wasn't the first Jew on the court. That was Louis Brandeis more than a century ago. So why was she so beloved by the left? Why did they make movies about her and T-shirts about her? Why did otherwise normal people wear tattoos of her? Well, because she was very left-wing, I suppose. More liberal than left-wing. And not on everything.
Justice Ginsburg, how do you feel about San Francisco 49ers player Colin Kaepernick and other NFL players who have basically refused to stand for the national anthem?
What do I think? I think it's really dumb of them. Would I arrest them for doing it? No. I think it's dumb and disrespectful. I would have the same answer if you asked me about flag burning. I said, I think it's a terrible thing to do, but I wouldn't lock a person up.
And while she was a leftist in some ways, she wasn't a partisan Democrat. Here she dismisses a Democrat idea to pack the court, which would mean the Democrats, if they ever had the power, would take the court, which has 9 seats on it, and greatly expand it, so they would just appoint a ton of liberals to dilute and water down and swamp the 5 conservatives who are on the bench right now.
I have heard that there are some people on the Democratic side who would like to increase the number of judges. I think that was a bad idea when President Franklin Delano Roosevelt tried to pack the court. His plan was for every justice who stays on the court past the age of 70, the president would have authority to nominate another justice. If that plan had been effective, the court's number would have swelled immediately from 9 to 15, and the president would have 6 appointments to make. You mentioned before the court appearing partisan. Well, if anything would make the court appear partisan, it would be that. One side saying, when we're in power, we're going to enlarge the number of judges, so we will have more people who will vote the way we want them to. So I am not at all in favor of that solution to what I see as a temporary situation.
So she was left-wing, I think more liberal than left-wing. I think the main reason why the left liked her, now that I think about it, she wasn't that left-wing. She was a feminist, and she was for abortion on demand, as in she was like several other liberal members of the court. I mean, the famous abortion case of Roe v. Wade was back in 1973. She really had nothing to do with that. I think, if I may, what people on the left liked about her was that she was old, and that they hoped she would get very old, in that her seat would outlast Donald Trump, so that a Democratic president could replace her, not Trump. That's what they liked about her. Every time she was in the hospital, which was quite frequent, it was news, not just news in itself. I'm not sure how newsy any given Supreme Court judge in the hospital would be. I suppose as newsy as a cabinet secretary or a senator, but it was that the left was rooting for her to outlive Trump. Elizabeth May, the Canadian Green Party celebrity, framed her death that way, then deleted it, as she has deleted so many of her drunk tweets. But it was an issue, and she made it an issue. See, in Canada, judges must retire at age 75, same as senators. Now, that's age discrimination, I'm sure. But in Canada, judges and senators are appointed, so there's no natural tool to get rid of judges or senators who aren't that sharp anymore. There's no such limit on MPs, because presumably voters could decide if someone is still with it, as indeed many people are into their late 70s and 80s. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was 87 when she passed away. Was she really with it in all those final years? I don't really know. I don't know if we'll ever know. Judges have clerks usually the brightest law graduates from across the country, the brightest of the brightest who want to work at the Supreme Court. So perhaps they were doing much of the thinking and writing for her. We'll never really know. That happens in Canada too with the clerks, but judges are retired at age 75 no matter what. By staying as long as she could, Ruth Bader Ginsburg made a choice. I mean, she could have retired 4 years ago and let Barack Obama fill her seat. 4 years ago, she was 83. She had been on the court for 23 years back then. Wasn't that enough? There were plenty of Democrats who were worried, who wanted her to step down. I know it's crass, but that's politics, especially court politics, but she just wouldn't leave. And now she has left all of us, and it's absolute and total political war in America. Here's Chuck Schumer, the highly partisan New York Democrat senator. His very first tweet after her death mentioned politics. A few minutes later, some aide probably convinced him to maybe do a tweet that was more human and less political, so he did. But there was a rage on the left when she died. I understand mourning someone's life, especially a long and successful and important public life. I bet you $1, though, that few Democrats could name a single court ruling she wrote. I mean, seriously, but look at some of this.
Holy you guys! I'm driving your car, but I just got a notification that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died! Could this year get any worse? Ruth, you just had to make it to 2021!
What on earth is that? That's rage that, you know, the duly elected president of the United States will do his job and nominate a judge, and that the Senate will vote on that judge's suitability. That's how it's outlined in the U.S. Constitution, except that the president is Trump and the Senate is run by a Republican named Mitch McConnell. And for all his flaws, and there are many, appointing judges, well, he's probably been the best senator on that ever, really. I don't know what else the Senate does these days, but it approves judges, strong conservative judges, vetted by a conservative group called the Federalist Society. Maybe the greatest surprise of the Trump presidency is just how principled Trump's judge picks have been, much more than any other Republican in recent memory, certainly better than either of the Bush presidents. Look at this upset headline in NBC. Oh, they're so mad. McConnell reaches milestone on judges by filling final circuit court vacancy. Trump and McConnell have confirmed more judges at a faster rate than any recent administration other than Jimmy Carter's when the judiciary was greatly expanded. McConnell has confirmed 53 circuit court judges appointed by Trump in 3.5 years. Obama confirmed 55 in all 8 years of his presidency. For all judges, Trump has now confirmed 200. George W. Bush follows with 197 at this point in his presidency, and Bill Clinton with 186. Yeah, and they're not just judges. I mean, Stephen Harper appointed a large number of judges too, just numerically. He actually appointed 8 Supreme Court judges, 5 of whom are still sitting. You wouldn't know it, though. For whatever reason, Harper just didn't really care. He delegated choosing judges to leftists or reds or globalists or progressives. You really can't tell the difference between that Stephen Harper judge and a Justin Trudeau judge. Maybe there's one exception on the bench. Like I say, who would have expected Trump to be so good? Well, the left knows it, which is why they've gone just nuts, just crazy, talking about rioting, talking about doing bad things that they've never done before, which is puzzling to me. I mean, they impeached Trump. They've been rioting all summer. What exactly would the left add to what they're doing already? And the crazy part is they're demanding that Trump not follow the Constitution, that he not follow the law. If he follows the law, they say they will break the law. Not very compelling either to Trump or to voters. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.